I'm playing with fire. I'm getting so close. Got so much desire. So I am never letting go.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm joined with Miss Garcia, who's one of my other bosses, and we work together at the Global Engagement Center of Orange Coast College. So she had a student debt, and she paid it off in only 11 months by working, saving money, and at the same time also traveling around the world. She travels everywhere and also inspires me to work and travel at the same time. So today I have her on my video sharing her experience of how she had paid off her student debt so quickly, and also give us some travel tips.
Okay, so where to start? Oh my gosh. Well, hi everyone. As Nan said, my name is Jen Garcia, and my story doesn't start off the way it's supposed to. I wish that as soon as I graduated from college, I focused on paying off my debt and then paid it off in 2 to 5 years. But I didn't go that route. I went another route. Instead of paying off my loans right away and focusing on them, I didn't pay off my loans for 10 years. So I sat with student debt for 10 years and only paid the minimum payments. Now, when I was growing up and going through college,
I didn't know that.
When I was going through college, no one ever told me that you have to pay off your student loans right away. No one told me that. In fact, I was very illiterate in financial anything. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with the money I was earning. And when I started making an income and got my first full-time job, I felt like I had so much money to spend, and which I didn't. I was actually in a lot of debt. When I first graduated, I graduated with my bachelor's and master's, and my student loan was only $35,000. I say only because throughout the 10 years that I paid toward my student loan, I actually paid $65,000 of that loan.
Including interest?
Yes, because of the interest.
$30,000 of interest. Can you imagine that?
Yes, it's upsetting, actually. The entire time I was paying the minimum payments, and again, I didn't understand that you have to pay more than the minimum payments to pay off a loan. And so it wasn't until 10 years that I finally woke up. And should I tell that story?
Yeah, so were you working the entire 10 years?
I was. I am an adjunct professor, and so I was working at 5 different jobs. I was making okay money, but I made the decision to purchase a home as soon as I got my full-time job. And so I was what people call house poor. I didn't have any money because all of my money was going toward paying off the mortgage. Yeah. And so after 10 years of paying the student loans and really just squandering money on other things, I actually was in Prague, and I remember it was my birthday vacation. It was May. I felt like I was on top of the world being in Prague and spending my birthday there. And I remember one morning I woke up and started paying off paying my bills online, and my minimum payment at that time was $414 minimum payment.
This is per month?
Per month.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, that's not paying off the student loan. It's just paying the minimum payments. And so I started to think about how much money that was per month, per year, and how much money I would actually have if I didn't have the student loan anymore. When I did the math, I decided I can't continue living like this, paying $414 of my hard-earned money per month, and I decided I was sick of it. And so I made a vow then and there in Prague to stop all spending and pay off my student loan as fast as possible.
Wow. So this was after 10 years of your graduation? Around
Yes.
10 years?
Yeah, it was 10 years.
So the minimum payments, do they go towards the interests, or they are just like they go towards the interest?
Yeah, mostly toward the interest. At some points, maybe like $50 was going toward principal at certain
I see.
points.
Okay.
But throughout the 10 years, there were times where I didn't have, I wasn't gainfully employed, which is code for I didn't have a job. And during those times, I called and asked for forbearance. Now, forbearance is when you ask the student loan provider to let you not pay a couple of payments until you get income again. That is a huge mistake to take on forbearance, because what they do is they'll change your interest rate most of the time, and they'll raise the interest rate, and you end up paying more money in the long run. So that's not recommended.
I see.
Yeah.
So do you think that you would have been able to pay your loan in 11 months if you focused on it as soon as you graduated?
I wasn't making. That's a good question. If I hadn't purchased the house, then yes, I would have been able to pay. Not in 11 months. I think it would have taken me 2 to 3 years, because I was at a starter income.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely could have done it, especially because when I graduated, I was still living at home, and my dad told me that I could stay there if I needed to. And instead, I decided to move out because I wanted freedom. But I highly recommend sacrificing and staying home and paying off those student loans.
Did you finish paying for the mortgage for your home?
No, I still have a mortgage.
Still have a mortgage.
Yes, I still have a mortgage. I rent out the home, so I don't have to pay that. My tenants pay for my mortgage.
Oh, that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
good. So yeah, that's the thing, like she works super hard in different ways and makes her own decisions. And a lot of times when I have conversations with her in the last 1.5 years that I've known her, she approaches issues, or she approaches any activities in a very unique way. So what I learned from it was to look at what other people are doing about specific topic, and then try to do it differently rather than following the same path. So I also try to apply it in my college life, and it works out super awesome. Sometimes you make mistakes, but that's how you learn.
Yeah, the hard part, the deciding that you want to pay off your loans, that is easy to do. But actually making the sacrifice and sacrificing as long as possible to pay off the loans, that is difficult. I decided to pay off my student loans in May 2018, and I also decided that I was going to sacrifice travel, eating out, buying clothes, buying makeup, buying shoes, buying anything until I was done. I decided I was not allowed to purchase anything that I didn't absolutely need for as long as my loans were still outstanding. When I did that, that was the hard part. I also took on 2 evening jobs so that I could continue to pay them off and throw more money toward the loan. And it took me 11 months to pay off. At that point, it was $41,000 in student loans.
So you mentioned about the student loan provider.
Mm-hmm.
So is it always the government, or it's like some other? How does it work?
Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable about that.
Okay.
Sometimes it's.
Or what's your point of contact for a loan?
Mine was it was a federal student loan, and it was at first it was Sallie Mae, which is a company that used to provide student loans, and then it changed to Navient, and so I was paying payments to Navient all the time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, she was a domestic citizen and she got a loan from the federal government of America. But if you're an international student thinking about taking a loan, then obviously you'll get a loan from either some of the private universities have some loans, and then also like your private banks in your home country also have loans. But what I want you to learn from this video is how she got inspired to pay off her loan. Now, even if you have a loan from a private bank in India or wherever you're from, it's still the rules are kind of the same. The sacrifices you need to make, or the cut shorts in like your lifestyle, the money you save is kind of like the same. So that's what I want you to learn from this. It doesn't really matter where you get the loan from, and it's more about like how you become more financially independent and responsible enough to focus on what you need to pay off as soon as you graduate, rather than having fun with the money which you start earning as soon as you graduate.
Right, and that's the issue. And one thing also, when you take out the loan to pay the school, you can start paying the loan while you're in college. I remember when I was in college, I would go to Starbucks, I think every day, every day almost every day for 6 years, going to Starbucks and paying $3, $4 for a coffee. That money should have gone toward my student loan, and that would have made the interest a lot less, and I would have been able to pay it off sooner. I also made dumb purchases in college, buying clothes I didn't need and buying makeup I didn't need. I could have started paying off the loan as soon as I took it out.
Right.
And so you don't have to wait until you graduate. And another thing I want to say is that when you're a college student, you live like a college student. You're eating ramen for lunch, and you're having, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner. Once you graduate, you should continue to live like a college student. You shouldn't start spending your money just because you have it. You shouldn't buy a new car. You should focus on paying off the loans. And then once you do pay off the loans, the second thing you have to do as soon as you're done paying off your student loans is you need to save for a rainy day fund. You need to have 3 to 6 months of savings just in case something happens. You have no idea what goes on. And that 3 to 6 months of savings happens before you start traveling, before you start spending money. You must do that. Once you have that cushion of 3 to 6 months savings, then you could start putting money away for travel and for little things that you need to buy. One of the things I didn't realize would change in my life was I became a minimalist, actually, when I started to pay off my student loans. I took a look around my house for anything I could sell to get money. And I started selling clothes I wasn't wearing, shoes I didn't want, furniture I wasn't using. And I realized that I just had a lot of stuff. And since then, if you go into my house, every single thing is there because it sparks joy, and it's because I need it. It's not because it's extra. And I just don't buy extra things anymore.
That's interesting. Also,
Yeah.
going back to the travel part, as a college student, what I learned from her, if you're an international student, firstly, if you go to any country to study, that's travel. Now, I'm in the US studying, so as a college student, I make some money, but rather than spending more money behind traveling internationally or going back to my home country, what I actually do is I save some money, and in whatever vacations or some small breaks which I have, I try to travel around the US, like inside the US, to closer places, San Francisco, Chicago, New York. So these are my travel plans right now. Like rather than traveling internationally, I would rather just go around the country which I'm already studying in. And going back to your home country is fine if you want to meet your family or something, but if you're actually here to travel or anything, then it's better. I'm better off just staying here and traveling around.
Yeah, it's way cheaper to travel domestically than internationally, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah.
Tell us something about how do you suggest college students to approach the switch from college to work? As you mentioned a little bit about how you should continue to be a college student, but financially, how to take care of your money, which you're a little bit more money which you're earning, or your first income, if they don't have a loan or something, or if they have a loan but it's not super big and they're super into people who are spending more money behind everything, buying all the new things, then how did you approach that experience?
If I could go back to college, this is what I would do differently, and this is my advice to students out there. While you're a college student, you should have a budget. Everything that you spend should be spent on purpose, not on accident. And so essentially you need to give $1. Every dollar that you make, you need to give it a name. So if you have, let's say you have $1,500 a month that is an income source for you. $800 goes toward room and board goes toward rent. $100 goes toward gas. $100 goes toward insurance or whatever. You should have a certain amount of money that you spend in each area, and you do not go over that area. You do not spend more than is what's in your budget. In addition, you should be saving about 25% of what you make, if possible. If you can't spend that, if you can't save that much, then you should save as much as you can. But the number one thing I would say is you must have a budget and know where your money is going. That way, you aren't confused about where your money went the month before. You know.
That's true. It does happen sometimes. You're just spending some things, and especially America. I mean, when I first moved here, and I go to all these shopping malls and every places, TJ Maxx and Ross and everything, I feel like it's so tempting to buy a ton of $10 things. You know,
Yeah.
it's a small night lamp or it's a small thing, but I don't know. I started calling it the $10 market. It's
Yeah.
like there's so many $10 things around, and then you just like keep 10 of them in your cart, and there's $100 right there.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff which you actually don't need, but it looks pretty. But then when it goes home, you actually never kind of use it. And especially as a college student, you probably move around. You're going to move your housing around. And I'm moving right now in the next 1 month, and I'm starting to pack my stuff up. And now I'm realizing like a few things here and there which I bought from like these $10 marketplaces. I thought it would be useful, but now they're like kind of just in my bags somewhere in the corner. But yeah. So now I want to let's talk about like as you traveled a lot. So share some experience of you, like some experience which opened your eyes when you started traveling, or the importance of traveling to learn not just about like going and taking pictures for Instagram, but like actually engaging with the people, or like living and understanding the culture. And also, I think you did a lot of solo trips too.
Yeah.
So traveling solo in like some unknown country, how's that been for you?
I only started solo traveling once I had a steady income, and once I was renting out the rooms in the house and whatever. So that's a little difficult to say, because the problem is when I started traveling, I was in debt while I was traveling. I was paying off the minimum payments for my student loans and using money for a vacation rather than paying off my debt. And so I don't know if I can really speak to traveling.
Maybe then not like the financial part of the travel, but like the experience part
The
of the
experience
travel.
part. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So let me think.
Take your time. She's traveled to a lot of places, so it's gonna take time for her to like process everything, all the countries she has been to, and then come up with a couple of experiences. That's another beauty about travel. I mean, I have lived in India, Zambia, and the US. Traveling and engaging with people makes you a storyteller. And it actually, for me, it makes me a much social person. And it's like super easy for me to start conversations or just like come up with different topics to talk about with strangers, and share your experiences rather than just being like, I go to school and I work,
Yeah. You do become way more well-rounded when you actually have stories to tell. All right, so I guess my first story would be I actually had an opportunity to live in Africa for 3 months, and that completely opened my eyes to what I need and don't need. I remember one of the most beautiful moments of my entire life was actually under the African sky in deep bush of Malawi. We were staying in tents, and everybody was asleep, and my tent mate was a snorer. She would snore so loud it drove me crazy. And so one night I decided, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go outside, and I'm going to sit outside away from her. And so I got a chair and put it outside of the tent. And I had not been out at night with the lights not on. We had lanterns on, and so at this point everyone's asleep. And so when I went outside, I looked at the sky, and I mean, stars upon stars upon stars, like amazing night sky that you've never seen before. It was incredible, and I would never have been able to see that had I not been in that circumstance.
So, what are the top three things which you learned, like not just financially, but even like just life in general? What through these experiences which you had of paying off your loans, and also at the same time like working, traveling, and it's like learning how to get the most out of the life which you're living.
Wow. Number one, I'd say that things don't matter. The material that everyone is consuming, name brands and makeup and clothes, all of those things end up getting thrown away. But experiences that you have, you never throw them away. You never get rid of them. They're always within you. And the one thing I learned is not to spend money on things anymore. And so, as a matter of fact, I don't buy new clothes. I don't buy new shoes. I get everything secondhand now because I want to save my money for travel. So that's number one.
Wow.
Number two, I'd say that you have to know yourself and be comfortable alone. Social media has made us really connected, and that's wonderful. But it's also distracted us from knowing ourselves and being still. If you can't be alone without a phone, without YouTube, without whatever, for longer than an hour and feel completely at peace, then you need to practice that. I finally learned that that's exactly what we need. And that's why I'm able to solo travel. If you don't feel comfortable and happy within yourself, then solo travel is not fun at all. That's number two.
See. Otherwise, even when you do solo traveling, you're still just keeping on posting stuff, whatever you're doing, but not trying to engage with the people around you and get
Right.
experience with them.
Right. And a lot of time during solo travel is solo. You're walking around, you're spending time by yourself, you're exploring, you're discovering, and you're not always with people around you. And so you have to be happy within yourself and
Oh, I see.
happy with your own company before you can really enjoy all the solo travel that you do. That would be number two. I'd say the third thing that I've learned is to turn off TV and to turn off everything that's distracting me and to focus on reading. Paying off my loans and solo traveling has actually made me more of a reader. And I feel like I've lost a lot of time not investing in knowledge and in consuming knowledge by reading. Yes, I love watching TED Talks and YouTube channels and stuff like that, but there is a process that occurs as we're reading that's really important. Reflecting on what you're reading and making goals for what you're reading is really important too. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on this video.
Thank
I hope
you.
you guys learned something and got inspired. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, follow me on Instagram to follow my journey of wherever I'm traveling and the experiences I'm sharing. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful.